you were on the stream for Mass Effect Andromeda with Mr. Reiner here.
I was for about 2 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, over 2 hours, 15 minutes.
Before Reiner
like
weighs in at all, what was your big takeaway from that stream and seeing 2 hours of Mass Effect Andromeda?
I am cautiously optimistic for it.
Where's the caution coming from?
A lot of it just seems like it just seemed like to be moving at this weird pace, and a lot of it was because we were moving through all of the we were kind of skipping all the side stuff. There were some optional objectives in that first mission that you could skip that we decided to for the sake of the stream. And I think sort of my biggest issue is that once we got into that open world, it just seemed like I'm not 100% sure whether or not that stuff is going to be interesting, because I mean, a lot of this is off of, Horizon and Zelda making that stuff really enticing.
Yeah.
And The Witcher.
Yeah, and The Witcher
And Ghost Recon Wildlands.
Oh yes, all the great open world games of the last 2 years. But I'm just wondering how much of that stuff I'm going to end up actually doing, and how much of it is, at what point I'm just going to be like, I'm just going to drive from, this one place to this one place, and everything in between is just kind of filler.
It's interesting you say that, because you're skipping all the side stuff, it felt like it had a strange flow. Does it feel like the game expects you to really take your time and soak in all these planets and do all these different side quests?
They give you, there's a critical path that's always there, right? Like, you can just do this, and I don't know how long that would take you to do that, but there is so much stuff that's right in that path that is secondary, where you could be running to this objective, but it'll be like, what's that over here? Like you see it out of your periphery, and it's like that could go off onto another 2-3 hours of exploration and gameplay and combat and leveling.
Does it pay off? Is it
sometimes
fun? Is it worthwhile?
Yeah,
sometimes.
I don't think it's doing the diversionary stuff to the level like The Witcher. Nothing does, right? Like, but I think it's up there with other open world games like the Skyrims and stuff like that, where it does all feel like it's part of the same experience, right? It doesn't feel like a lesser quality necessarily. It's just not. The Witcher takes narrative, a really nice narrative, and then they give you like a book within a book, right?
Yeah.
With those other side chapters that they throw at you. This is just another little wrinkle or a paragraph thrown into that. That can up your understanding of what's happening. Like, there's a lot of interesting lore in this game.
It's interesting you bring up Skyrim though, because like I feel like that is the prime example of quests that are often just filler, and I feel like the quest is go here, get this thing, come back, and then you're done. All right, cool. There's
a lot of that in this, by the way. Yeah,
right.
You're going to see that.
Do they sort of divert? Do they tell you that stuff? Like, because I know Horizon specifically has a thing where here are all the tiers of quests, so you can know how much of it to ignore if you're trying to mainline it. But I guess I wonder, like, will I know ahead of time what I'm getting into when I start a quest?
Yes, and that comes very simply from the way they have the missions organized. When you go into your menu, there is a blade that comes up for your missions.
Like an Xbox blade?
It actually is a lot like an Xbox blade.
Okay. That's the future, going back to the blade UI. Got it.
Microsoft just didn't know. 600 years in the future, here it is. But and it's categorized into like critical path up top. You have your character stuff, and then you have multiple tiers of secondary stuff. So that stuff that falls into the secondary, is not going to be heavy on narrative, right? It'll be like, hey, I'm at site B of this camp. They were making this secret weapon. The parts are missing. Go find the parts. You know what you're going to be doing. It's a fetch quest. You're going to find those things. You're going to retrieve them. You're going to put them there and see what happens, right? That's not a big payoff. Whereas there's, I can't go into this yet. There's some other stuff in the game I can't talk about due to the embargo at this point, unfortunately, that we can get to next week.
Yeah.
But there is some surprising layers to even that kind of stuff. I can't go into that.
That's fine. Here's what I'm imagining. Bertz, I think you're with me on this. I imagine starting to play this game and then spending hours just debating in my mind, does this feel like Mass Effect? Is this the Mass Effect world? Does this just feel kind of like the B team? What does it feel like? Does it feel like a full embrace of going back to the Mass Effect universe in a different galaxy?
Right, which is weird because like this is BioWare making it. It's not like Gears of War 4 where it's a different team and sort of the entire...
It is a different team
it?
To a certain degree.
Yeah, it's Montreal kind of taking
tech,
it over, but some of the same leads still from the Edmonton studios.
Right.
So there is a lot of the old blood still around.
Okay,
but
it is sort of admitting that feeling of like, this is someone else trying to take on this behemoth.
It's a fusion.
Okay, all right.
My early takeaway on this is it feels like an amalgam of Mass Effect 1 and 3. Now, I haven't done the companion missions yet. That's a big part of this, right? That was the best part of 2, where you got to know your characters and do those individual little stories. Have not done that yet. So that could be where some of that Witcher stuff comes from. I don't know that yet. But it does feel like we're resetting, going back to a whole new thing. That kind of awe of exploration is back. And I think it's even greater than it was in Mass Effect 1, where when you stepped into that universe, Shepard knew what was going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
She or he was comfortable with, the lore and all that stuff. In Andromeda, you are stranger in a strange land. So like when you go up to something, you don't know what it is. It doesn't have a name yet. They don't even know what it's comprised of, like elementally. Like it's like, what is this thing? So you scan it and you get some items, like some data, and that kind of enhances over time as you're playing the game. Or you run into a species that's from this area and they start telling you things, and then they start filling in those gaps for you in your data, which is very cool. I think that's a neat little touch where, what is that? Is that worth noting? Your characters are even kind of interacting that way. Like, should we be worried about this? This looks like it might be 300 to 400 years old.
That sounds
I like
great.
that stuff.
And even aesthetically, it looks very different. That intro planet it had sort of all these arrival-looking spires everywhere of just like this weird sort of almost abstract place, and then there's also the terra firma around it. And so that was really cool looking. I guess you can't talk in specifics, but do you think there are other planets that sort of match that sort of visual level? Okay.
Yeah, that's what he's
shaking his
for the
head,
audio
yes,
listeners. Yeah. But that's what I'm trying to figure out, though. I feel like a huge theme in the comments during our month of coverage was like, oh, everything still looks the same. We're going to a whole new galaxy, and it's like, okay, you see the Ket, they look like the Collector's big whoop. But it does feel alien enough beyond just the premise. It feels like you're exploring these crazy worlds.
Yes and no. The world itself, the universe, the new Andromeda galaxy. Yeah, definitely. Like, okay. I really like the lore they're selling there. The way they're communicating that is very good. But then, like any established franchise, you have these iconic identities of the aliens that you're seeing that are along with you on this ride. It's like you immediately connect, with the Krogans again, and they go into that history again with the
Turians,
genocide with the Turians and all that. That all comes up again, and you're reminded of all that stuff. So that feels very familiar. But whenever they are turning their gaze to this new galaxy that is unknown, it really is interesting, and I think it's very compelling how they're presenting it. Like, I like the slow peel of it. I wish they'd even slow down more.
Okay.
When you begin the game, you wake up from cryo after 600 years, and you're just like, wow, this is crazy. We're in a new galaxy, but you're immediately thrown into it. You're immediately thrown into the action and chaos, and you really don't get to know what's going on, and it moves very fast. And that's just video games in general, though. Like, slow the hell down.
Mm-hmm.
Like, treat it like a TV series and, like a Netflix show or something. Like, you don't have to cram all this stuff within the first half hour. Like, let people really get their feet on the ground and have an understanding of what's happening in this world before you just blow everything up. So I wish they'd slow down. It races a little fast at the beginning.
Yeah.
But like Suriel was saying, once you get into that first world where you really are starting, it's just you and another companion. And you're just kind of looking around. They give you time to really kind of soak it up. We moved a little fast on the stream. We didn't do the side stuff. We just kind of stuck to the path. But there is a lot there where you really can feel like, again, the stranger in the strange land.
Yeah. And do you feel like the open world design when you're in these planets do you see an evolution from what they did with their first kind of more open space and Inquisition?
Yeah, this is the first game I would say in this. When I say it feels like Mass Effect 1 and 3, I think that's visually too. I know this is on Frostbite now. They do not seem really comfortable with Frostbite at all. There's some frame rate issues. The character models, especially the humans, I think are lacking.
Really?
Yeah, I do feel like they feel pretty last gen in terms of animation and detail.
Like, I'm sure that if you compared them directly, you'd be like, oh, this, like, the shading on this is a little better. But just looking at it, it didn't seem like it was.
It
like
didn't
that
seem like a
next
jump
step.
forward.
Yeah.
And you kind of thought that would happen when they adapted to Frostbite, right? Like, you're like, well, that does
you look at
Battlefront and
Battlefield
Battlefield.
and
It's like, well, but no, you're not getting that. It still looks like it's connected to that last trilogy. Vistas, I think that looks a lot better. And that kind of goes to that open world where you'll go out to a clearing and it's like, holy hell, that looks amazing. And I know we do that with every game. Zelda,
That's just the entire Zelda
Ghost
experience.
Recon.
Yeah.
I mean, developers are very savvy with making worlds look beautiful, and in this case, very alien. And to your point, Bertz, with Inquisition, I felt like they were constantly trying to hide their streaming and load time, so everything was very rocky and hilly. So you never really had these big, huge flats. This game,
Well, until the deserts when that's all you had.
yeah, this game, I mean, it's mostly flats and then some significant scale of things. I'm going to get in trouble if I keep talking, but on Eos, the one planet we were able to show
Yeah.
for the open world, that is very desert heavy. I can't even tell you one other thing, but there is a lot to do there. You could spend a full day on that planet doing missions and side missions and just exploring, finding minerals, stuff you need to upgrade your characters and your vehicles and all that stuff.
Space hinterlands confirmed.
Yeah, exactly.
And
So
it has a different feel too. It's not just really tightly condensed. It's the objectives are usually really far apart. There's fast travel. So when you find something, you can fast travel there, or you can use the Nomad, your new vehicle, which
Mako
is way
2.0.
better than the Mako.
yeah.
But exploration can get a little chaotic at times where you see a waypoint and it's like, how do I get there? And sometimes you'll be like, well, I got to get up on that canyon. Well, I got to go back a mile around this way to find the ramp up there. The Mako can't go up, or the Nomad can't go up this incline.
Right.
It's like, well, that sucks. Like,
Well, you want it
I have
to drive straight up a wall?
Well,
Have you just
it's
been
just
playing
like,
too much?
you want
why
a
do you
Yeah,
have
and a
helicopter.
stamina bar.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
if you are leading the player that way and there's nothing along this wall for a mile and a half, like what is that?
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like there's just one way up there. Just let me get up there.
It's space. Come
But
on.
there's some of that where it's like, how do I went the wrong way. I got to turn around and go try to attempt this mountain this way.
Right.
And you could switch between going moderately fast. You're never going to be going super fast in this thing. But you could switch to 6-wheel drive. And that will like really get the tires moving, and you're just going up like different terrains, and it feels cool. You got the jump button again.
Yeah.
I don't have weapons on it yet, but yeah, I think it's a significant upgrade over the Mako.
So, just so people can delete their YouTube comments that they've already written, we mentioned the genophage earlier. We should have said Solarians and not Turians.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Please, let's go back in time and fix that. Delete that comment, everybody. But set fans' expectations. What should they be bracing for when this thing comes out next week?
I would say, expect a continuation, pretty direct continuation from Mass Effect 3, not narratively, but that experience on your new console. And I mean, everything I've done in there feels very Mass Effect-y, right? Like there's nothing that's really surprised me, like, this is a major evolution, or, like, I can't believe they did that. It's all very established. They're not taking a lot of chances in gameplay design, or there is one thing they changed. You now have auto cover where you just immediately snap onto something. I don't like that. I really wish you had that.
No one's
as
ever really mastered that. It must be
tough.
really tough.
And there's things where, like, if a companion's already in cover and you want that cover, they won't move for you.
Oh, really? I always kick people
But
out of their spots.
I know that sounds like, well, just go find other cover. Sometimes there isn't other cover. It's just like you're standing in a corridor. It's like, well, all right, I'll just be the bullet sponge and we'll reload this. But just stuff like that. Just why did you change that? Like, it seemed, if my memory serves correctly, it worked really well in 3. But whatever they did in this one, it's not really clicking.
Interesting.
So combat a little iffy at times, but the biotic powers are fun, and companion AI seems pretty aggressive so far. Like they're not just hanging back, letting you kill. They'll go for the kill.
Yeah.
I like it.
Cool.
I really like what the beginning sets up in terms of narrative. Like I'm fully invested.
Well, people might be upset that we talk about Breath of the Wild so much, but we're going to be talking about Mass Effect a lot because next week we'll have Joe on to talk about his review. Reiner, I'd imagine you'd be coming back for that. We'll see how it goes. Then the week after that, this will be March 30th for that episode. We're kicking off our game club for Mass Effect Andromeda, and we're trying to figure out exactly where to stop for that first episode. Do you think it makes sense to just to say the first planet and then that's it, Reiner?
Well, yeah, you're doing it on the 30th.
Yeah.
I think maybe you could go up through the second planet.
Okay, we'll lock it down and let
Yeah.
you know next week for sure, but somewhere around there. So 30th, first episode of the Game Club. So if you want to, play along and send feedback into podcastgameinformer.com, join the larger discussion. We look forward to that. Thank you so much for watching this excerpt from the Game Informer Show podcast. You can click right here if you want to subscribe and listen to the audio version of the full show. Full episodes air every Thursday, and they feature Game Informer editors sitting around talking about the biggest reviews, previews. We talk about exclusive impressions of Game Informer's cover stories. We have long-form developer interviews. Everything that's great in gaming. So every Thursday, be sure to check it out.